Hi, friends. This is Nishank. I work for Spectraforce Technologies as a senior manager training. I have experience in training for more than 15 years. I have worked with organizations like Airbnb, IBM, the Landmark Group in the past. Today, I'm here to talk about the most dreaded questions for a lot of people during an interview. And in fact, this could also lead a lot of people to be stumped and do not know what to say. The question is, tell me something about yourself. A lot of people just go blank, space out, or just start blabbering whenever they are asked this question, tell me something about yourself. So, what is the right way to answer this question? What is that hiring manager trying to ask you when he or she is asking you about yourself? You definitely do not have to start by talking about your background in detail. I hear people talking about their school life, their college life, talking about their family, extended family, hobbies, etc. You don't have to do that. If you are somebody who has already been working and has some work experience, remember three things that you must talk about whenever you are asked this question. One, talk about your current role to begin with, because that's the most relevant thing that the hiring manager wants to hear when he or she is asking you about yourself. Tell them about your key responsibility areas and how you are managing them, how you are dealing with those daily tasks and challenges, how you are putting your skills to use when it comes to handling your key responsibility areas. Now, that is what your hiring manager wants to hear. Remember, you don't have to go in a monologue. No one has 20 minutes to listen to you. So keep that serious enthusiasm and limit it to, I would say, 3 to 4 minutes, not more than that. It is important that you chalk out your entire conversation. What is it that you can talk about your current role? What are your key areas that you have to deliver on? So make sure that you rehearse this portion, this first section, because that's where the decision maker will have the key information about you. Now, once you're done with this, and I think that this is the most important piece of the three pieces that I usually would tell people to talk about themselves whenever they are answering this question, tell me something about yourself. So the next thing would be to talk about your background briefly. Now, again, keep it to only talk about the relevant background that will help the hiring manager to take a decision in your favor, or will reveal more about yourself to them. A lot of times the hiring manager also wants to know what is it that you consider important about your background. So talk about your previous work experiences or the projects that you may have undertaken and the skills that you would have learned, used, the people whom you got inspired by. So talk about that briefly. Okay, so once you're done talking about your current role and brief background, move on to future ambitions, because hiring managers really like the people who know where they're headed, and I think it's important that you let them know that you're aware of your journey and the destination. Where is it that you're headed? If you're aware of that and you're able to relay that information to the hiring manager, they would really like you. But before you do that, make sure that you've done your homework. Make sure that you've thought about this question and talk about what is it that you really want to do in future. Of course, it has to be something relevant to your work experience, your skill set, and to the role that you are being interviewed for, which will propel your career further. If you're able to make that relevance, establish that relevance, then the hiring managers will think of you as somebody who's sensible and smart enough to be hired for that position. Remember that you're going to talk about, though you're going to talk about these three things, but the most important thing is to talk about your current role. That should cover the maximum part of your answer. So first is your current role, the second is your brief background, and the third one is your future ambitions. Remember, you don't have to talk in a monologue. Take pauses and wait for the cues in case if your interviewer has some other follow-up questions or relevant questions in between. It should not appear as if you are just blabbering an answer which you have rehearsed. You should really think about where you're headed in your life and answer accordingly. Now, this was the same thing can be applied even if you are somebody who's just starting out his or her career, somebody who doesn't have any work experience. You can talk about your current role, wherein you could mention the projects that you are doing currently or you've recently finished, whether it was in college or the kind of initiatives that you took in your college life or in your university. Talk about that. If you've done any internships or any volunteer work, talk about that also. What is more important here is that you highlight your skills that you applied in the kind of work that you have done in the past in your college life or in your recent projects or internships, which are needed for your current role, for the role that you're being interviewed for. So that is what you're trying to highlight when you're talking about your current role, basically. Okay, and brief background could talk about again your yesteryears of your college life when you started out, how you learned the skills, how you overcame failures and challenges, and how you grew in your own career and education. That's what the hiring manager would like to hear. And of course, future ambitions, as I discussed, you should be very clear with your vision as to where you're headed. So if you're able to structure and chalk out an answer in this structure, in this manner, a lot of hiring managers will relate to you, and I think it will make your interview a lot easier, and the next or the following questions will also be a lot more easy for you. I hope you find this useful. I wish you good luck for your interview if you have one coming up. Thank you very much for listening in. Take care. Bye-bye.